A hypothetical etymology of MK may possibly stand for mind control in regards to the Germanic spelling, just when it comes to the letter K and the two L's and the E. The obvious post-war translation of the German word control into English is control. A host of German doctors procured from the Nazi talent pool were an invaluable asset toward the development of MK Ultra. The correlation between the concentration camp experiments and the numerous sub-projects of MK Ultra are clearly evident. The various avenues used to control human behavior under MK Ultra included radiation, electroshock, psychology, psychiatry, sociology, anthropology, graphology, harassment substances, and paramilitary devices and materials, including like LSD being most widely dispensed material, and that's mostly known in regards to the understanding. Just when it comes to celebrities who undergo certain procedures, LSD is one of the main elements. A$AP Rocky, he even has a song called LSD, and it probably has something to do with his programming. A special procedure designated MK Delta was established to govern the use of MK Ultra abroad. MK Ultra / MK Delta materials were used for harassment, discrediting, or disabling purposes. Of the 149 subprojects under the umbrella of MK Ultra having been identified, Project Monarch, officially began by the U.S. Army in the early 1960s, although unofficially implemented much earlier, appears to be the most prominent and is still classified as top secret for national security reasons. Monarch may have culminated from MK Search subprojects such as Operation Spellbinder, which was set up to create sleeper assassins, i.e. Manchurian candidates. And you think about that movie with Denzel Washington called Manchurian Candidate, they pretty much reflect real life in regards to, the CIA procedures when it comes to MK Ultra, right? Who could be activated upon receiving a keyword or phrase while in a post-hypnotic trance. Operation Often, a study which attempted to harness the power of occultic forces, was possibly one of several cover programs to hide the insidious reality of Project Monarch.
I got the teardrop on some, some fucked up shit in the streets. You know how the teardrop comes about, man. And I kind of felt like with me having, a new company and me having my guys and just new life. My son's almost 2 years old. My mom is happy. My grandmother's looking down on me, and I'm finally doing something positive. I just donated over, a little bit under $500,000 to the Compton Unified School District. So it's all about new life. You know what I'm saying? The butterfly is just a representation of new life. That's what it is. I did research on it, and I looked up something that meant or kind of defined new life, and it was a butterfly. Shit could have been a lion, but it was a fucking butterfly, man. So I got a butterfly tattooed on my face, but that don't mean that I won't run up and punch your fucking teeth out if you say something slick. It just means that I'm trying not to punch your teeth out, so watch your word.
Yes, the butterfly represents rebirth. Also associated with the number 11 and the number 2. The butterfly represents rebirth, represents fleeing from an old life and entering into a new life. And when it comes to MK Ultra, they utilize the Monarch butterfly. And I have no doubt that the game was under some sort of programming associated with the butterfly. Why get a butterfly tattooed on your face? And explaining the difference from the tattoo that was before it, which represents death. Like a teardrop on your face for so-called bloods or what have you, represents them catching a body or what have and whatnot. I don't believe Game caught a body. I believe that that's all brand building just when it comes to gangstifying him and whatnot, because that's what they do with these celebrities. It's just brand building. Because he didn't really go into it. In a real situation, they're not really going to go into it, but you can just tell Game is not like authentically, a gangster. I'm just saying, you can just tell. He has money, and I'm sure that he has people that can put work in and whatnot, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man. You could see through certain people. And I don't know him, but I'm just saying, you could just tell. And Game was someone who was brought up. A lot of these celebrities, they're farm raised. They're not authentic celebrities. None of these celebrities that you see are authentic. Because you always hear about a story about them from back in the day where they took a picture with somebody that's famous or what have you, and they have a connection or some sort of nepotism, or is something that represented their upstart. Like the game was on a program called Change Your Heart. And it's not a coincidence that he was on that show and he blew up. Like, it's always something that lets you know that this person, you know, they're on a certain trajectory because they're assets. Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, The Game, Biggie Smalls, Jay-Z, all these people, they're assets. They're assets. They're controlled. And MK Ultra is just an extension of that control. Just when it comes to the mental aspect of it. And you have to understand it is a real thing, and it's mostly associated with celebrities in the military, certain, you know, agents and whatnot, sleeper assassins, sleeper agents. That's what it is. Most of these celebrities were born in Germany because of the military base in Germany, like J. Cole and Schoolboy Q and a host of other celebrities that I covered in a video. I believe it's on my other channel or this channel, but I went into the commonality of these celebrities and how they were born in Germany, and it's just weird. And it just lets you know that the commonality is the MK Ultra programming from when they were born. Martin Lawrence, J. Cole, Schoolboy Q, these people, they were born in Germany. But, you know, they tell you about where they rep, where they're from. Like J. Cole, he says he's from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Schoolboy Q from LA, you know? So it's just interesting. These celebrities are not who you think they are when it comes to just you looking at them as regular people. They're not regular people. None of them. They're not regular people. They're not. And it's time that we wake up to what it is when it comes to what's before us, what we consume. And this is just, you know, this is frivolous. This is nonsense. This isn't any substance. But it's still important for me to cover because this is what a lot of our people attach themselves to. You know, the whole concept of celebrity, the whole idea of celebrity. And not just our people, but just in general. This is what the world is moved by, you know? This is what galvanizes people. Celebrity and fame and success and whatnot. Not everybody, but I'm just saying in regards to, you know, what they push as the paragon. You know, so that's why it's important for me to cover these things, even though I know that, you know, none of this is really substantive at all in regards to the consumption of it. But it's important for us to understand it because most of our people have been deceived by all these things. When we look at these rappers and think that they're actually, you know, living a great life because of what they emit. And some of us, we know the deal, but I'm just saying in regards to us being so impressed by what they feed us. And a lot of our people, you know, they actionize it, or more so they internalize it, for lack of a better word. They internalize it, not actionize, but internalize. Therefore actionizing off of it when it comes to certain rappers that, you know, act as like influencers for them to, you know, be led astray. But yeah, man, like the Monarch butterfly. Let's get more into the Monarch butterfly. The name Monarch is not necessarily defined within the context of royal nobility, but rather refers to the monarch butterfly. When a person is undergoing trauma induced by electroshock, a feeling of lightheadedness is evidenced, as if one is floating or fluttering like a butterfly. There is also a symbolic representation pertaining to the transformation or metamorphosis of this beautiful insect, from a caterpillar to a cocoon, which is like dormancy or inactivity, to a butterfly, new creation, which will return to its point of origin. Such is the migratory pattern that makes the species unique. Occultic symbolism may give additional insight into the true meaning. Psyche is the word for both soul and butterfly, coming from the belief that human souls become butterflies while searching for a new reincarnation, rebirth. Some ancient mystical groups, and this is why Kendrick Lamar, he's associated with the butterfly. He got an album called To Pimp a Butterfly. He talks about reincarnation and whatnot. You know, he's under that programming. Now, occultic symbolism may give additional insight to the true meaning. Psyche is the word for both soul and butterfly, coming from the belief that human souls become butterflies while searching for a new reincarnation. Some ancient mystical groups, such as the Gnostics, saw the butterfly as a symbol of corrupt flesh, the angel of death. Remember Mangel. In Gnostic artworks was portrayed crushing a butterfly. A marionette is a puppet that is attached to strings and is controlled by the puppet master, hence monarch programming. Right? It's like a handler to the asset. It's also referred to as the marionette syndrome. Imperial conditioning is another term used, while some mental health therapists know it as conditioned stimulus response sequences.
Pleasure for Hervey and me to introduce Marshall Mathers. Some of you may know him as Eminem, but he's going to join the Saturday night crew with our music intro starting next Saturday night. But folks, I want to take you to the world premiere of one of his new videos called Berserk. Take a listen. It's headed for the top of the charts. So was that the great Rick Rubin who was helping produce that with you, Marshall, when you did that?
Yeah, sorry. Live TV. Live TV freaks me out a little bit.
No.
Yes, I'm sorry. What was the question?
That was Mr. Rubin, one of the all-time greats producer. Huh?
Yep.
How long does it take you to shoot a video like that? How many takes and how many hours?
Sometimes it's usually like a 2-day process.
Alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker, will someone do the junior high hug dance? It's like this. You gotta make it real awkward.
That's exactly how
you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies
exactly.
in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. And as Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the...
That could only be the musical stylings of Victor Oladipo, who is the reigning 2-time champion of the All-Star Weekend player talent show.
You are talented. I give you a little credit on that. A lot of credit. You're very talented. I mean, you're not a karaoke guy like me, but you can actually. You know they call me O'Brown Eyes, right?
As a matter of fact, you both have experience singing New York, New York. His was at the Slam Dunk Contest. Yours was in Vegas.
Yes.
We had the show out there. Here's just a little sampling.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it in old New York. I want to wake up. See, I love to do karaoke. That's
But it's been a heck of a ride, to be honest. I really can't complain. I was kind of I was a little down when I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond, everybody on this team, they come over there, they wrap their hands around.
I gotta go with the majority. They're on a mission right now. I guess they want to show the public that last year wasn't a fluke for us. We're here, we're for real, and we're for real team.
Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got a shot, 2 Chainz? You got a shot, let me see that shot, dog. Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got a shot. Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got. Speaking of showing us, 2 Chainz, you got a shot, 2 Chainz? Got a shot, let me see that shot, dog.
Trap now I'm back at it. I'm addicted to the trap, I'm a trap addict.
You see, the Cold War was just an excuse. It was geopolitical. So when it comes to the understanding of the Cold War in regards to it being coincided with all these different research projects with the government, it's easy to understand that it was a cover-up. So just going into Bryce Taylor's book even further, with the CIA National Security Council firmly established, the first in a series of covert brainwashing programs was initiated by the Navy in the fall of 1947. Project Chatter was developed in response to the Soviets' successes through the use of truth drugs. And these are things that they researched, but it was used as a cover-up for what they were really implementing. This rationale, however, was simply a cover story if the program were to be exposed. The research focused on the identification and testing of such drugs for use in interrogations and the recruitment of agents. The project was officially terminated in 1953, but it evolved into other projects subsequent. So these are things that we understand in regards to what's covert in terms of the dissemination of information. These things are covert. These things aren't necessarily public information. it's public information, but it's not necessarily information for us to consume in regards to, you know, things that they want us to know. This is why we have to dig in the crates so we can, you know, uncover what's concealed.
Well, we ruined the planet, we dispossessed, imprisoned and slaughtered First Nations people, we enforced gender roles, we systemized rape, racism, misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, ableism, classism and unsustainable food industries. We allowed fossil fuel companies to operate our elected officials like ventriloquist dummies from hell, raping our planet for economic gain. We turned the prisons and military into big business. We sold our land, our resources, our water table and the Port of Darwin to the Chinese, who we're now in a trade war with. We empowered the church to such a degree it's now just a tax haven for pedophiles, with the ability to manipulate government policy and mandate legislation on women's bodies without their consent. And we bred dogs to a superficial aesthetic level so they can no longer breathe. But pugs are so cute the way they suffocate when they walk. Their eyes are pointing in different directions because they're asking both owners to kill them.
Right, the CIA decided to expand their efforts in the area of behavior modification with the advent of Project Bluebird, approved by Director Alan Dulles in 1950. Its objectives were to discover a means of conditioning personnel to prevent unauthorized extraction of information from them by known means. And this is what they do with these celebrities. This is why they have to take oaths, and this is why they're programmed to pose in certain, you know, gestures that's meant to, you know, denote secrecy, that's meant to denote that they have an understanding that the masses don't, and that they have to keep the secrets. And it's really going into the worship or veneration of Harpocrates. Investigate the possibility of control of an individual by application of special interrogation techniques. Investigate memory enhancement and establish defensive means for preventing hostile control of agency personnel. In August 1951, Project Bluebird was renamed Project Artichoke, which evaluated offenses uses of interrogation techniques, including hypnosis and drugs. The program ceased in 1956. 3 years prior to the halt of Project Artichoke, Project MK Ultra came into existence on April 13th, 1953, along the lines proposed by Richard Helms, Deputy Director of Central Intelligence, CDCI, with the rationale of establishing a special funding mechanism of extreme sensitivity. So they basically established certain funding tunnels for certain projects that were, you know, deemed highly sensitive because of the secrecy. And it just continues on. It continued on. And it's important for us to understand through a spiritual lens, just when it comes to this warfare, because that's what it is. We understand, and we know that the people that they push down our throats, pause, but the people that they push down our throats when it comes to these celebrities or these high profile figures, it's important for us to understand that it's more than meets the eye when it comes to what they're about. And it has a lot to do with, you know, the secrecy of the government and certain aspects of esotericism and Luciferianism that coincide with the secrecy. So it's important for us to understand that these things always go hand in hand. So I just wanted to go into 2 Corinthians chapter 10, starting at verse 4, where it says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High, to the pulling down of strongholds." Right, so when it comes to things that we get impressed by, it's important for us to put things in proper perspective when we get caught up into the things that we get impressed by. And I just say we en masse, not talking about, you know, us personally, but just our people, especially the ones that's, you know, simple-minded, and not in a disrespectful or demeaning way, but just simply simple-minded. It's important for us to understand how to put things in proper perspective when it comes to, you know, things that we get consumed by, especially, you know, the whole dynamic of idolatry, the whole dynamic of celebrity and whatnot, or just more so, you know, the upper levels. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. Every thought that pertains to the ones that's meant to be called or chosen, just in regards to Israel and the elect, we have to understand that our thoughts should be in captivity, you know, in conjunction with obedience to the Heavenly Father, because it's sacred. But also don't get caught up in this carnal world when it comes to these things that can entrap us, especially psychologically.